How fast does it go and what's it like to drive it?
Um, it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Um, Mine was made by my ex-boss. I retired. He's now the vice president of the company I retired for. Back in the like 1999, 2000, he made um, like 200 of these and sold them here in the
Mm.
Oregon, around the Oregon coast. And Oregon has 40 miles of coastal dunes.
Mm.
Uh, and there are four or so locations where you're allowed to ride on the sand. And so
Hmm.
they're extremely popular for enthusiasts of that kind of thing. And my car there has a Honda V6 engine in it. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a 3.2 liter V6 and it has about 250 horsepower.
Good Lord. Wow. So
So
it goes fast.
it does. So on a flat straightaway where the sand is smooth, and I have enough room, I can get it close to 90 miles an hour.
Wow.
Of course, I don't do that very often,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's fun. Uh, and I got friends that, of course, that like to do it. And this is my other little toy that I got last fall. This little guy. This is a Chevrolet Tracker
Mm.
made by Suzuki. Uh, it was also sold as a geo tracker, and then Suzuki sold them as the Sidekick. Uh, Really
Oh, yeah.
capable little car and fun and easy to work on. So maybe I'll put an antenna in that one of these days. So all right, hey Bob, what are you ready to do something or get onto a topic?
No, you knock your socks off.
Oh,
I
okay,
have uh, I have a quick question,
sure.
Yaesu related. I just wondered, because yesterday I was on 80 meters, and I was just wondering for those of you that have Yaesu radios, in what order do you put on noise fighting things? The digital noise reduction, the VC tune, the contour. Anybody have an order in which they put those things in, and what seems to work best?
Eric, I was thinking about getting someone to give us a presentation on the noise
Oh,
filters on things. I haven't found
yeah.
anybody yet, but that's on my list.
Oh, okay. I think somebody did a video, but I don't remember where I saw that, where he was trying to tune in a very weak station and he kept adding different things on the Yaesu, and finally you could even make out what the guy was saying. But if without anything there, you couldn't hear a thing or make out anything he was saying. And I thought it was rather impressive how he did that.
Well, these radios evidently do have a great deal of capability, but you have to know how to use it.
Exactly.
I'll work on that because I think a lot of guys would like
Oh,
to
okay.
have some
Yeah.
understanding of how that all
Yeah.
works.
Th- Yeah, Bob, you might look at YouTube, and I think there was a guy who did something like that, and he had a call sign of which I don't remember, but he may have done it with the, did he do it? No, he couldn't have done it with the DX10 because I think he used the VC tune. I don't remember where I saw that. It was some time ago, sort of shortly after the radio came out.
Let me do a little research and I'll see if I can get somebody. I think that'd be a
Oh,
great
okay.
seminar.
Yeah. Hmm. And I just wanted to ask Dave if he's done any POTA-ing lately.
What minute are you talking about?
June 3rd was the last time.
Really? Oh, okay. I
Been
must have missed
work's
you
been
there.
busy and it's just I just it's hard to get motivated when you hear things like, "Yeah, I was out for 12 days and I got 3 contacts."
Right. Yeah, that's true. Dave,
And
are
then
you
if I do
still
have
using?
time and I got nothing to do, it's raining, so it's can't win.
Oh, yeah. Dave, are you still using the Ham K2 Polo logger?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Okay. I saw a video by the guy Sebastian, I guess, who wrote the program for it.
yeah. He does. He upgrades it every month. He puts
Oh,
more
really?
features into it.
Oh,
His next,
uh-huh.
he's working on a Windows version, and he's
Oh, yeah.
working on inner putting cat control into it somehow.
Hmm.
That's for people
Oh, very good.
that can't spin the dial, I guess, but they can push the button that says go to this frequency. It's kind of like the
Hmm.
Apple Watch for people that are too lazy to take their phone out of their pocket.
Yeah. I was operating portable up in Minocqua, Minnesota last Wednesday. Well, I was up there and I got a chance to go out, and the bands were horrible. I think I made 3 contacts, and that was about it. And boy, I was only using 20 watts, and it was a struggle.
It just keeps like it seems like the sun keeps throwing up. As soon as it feels better, it throws up again.
Hmm. We need to give it some Pepto-Bismol or something.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Is that the way of the world until 20 years from now when we're all dead?
Well, this is
I don't
Maybe.
want
the
to be an
high end of
optimist
the
or anything, but
this is the high end of the cycle.
Yeah,
right now, this is the high end.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Neil has a solution for it.
Solution? Yeah, it's called an Eric filter.
Brian, what's going on in your world?
Sneezed like 15 times in a row, so that's why I got it on mute. And my eyes are going nuts right now. Nothing.
Allergy?
I had the pleasure of being out in the park, and I got I don't know, it was a couple hours. I got 8 contacts out there on 20 watts, while Eric was driving me absolutely crazy because he couldn't make any contacts up in Wisconsin. But um, I had a good time, and Bruce, I just might as well mention that little Suzuki Sidekick that you were referring to. I had one of those. I rented one of those in Costa Rica one time, and for 2 hours I never got out of first or second gear going through rocky climbs in a mountain and stuff. And I could not believe it was not comfortable, but it did not break down. So I could not
Yeah,
believe that.
they're
And
they're an amazing little car.
yeah, I'm
Really?
an ATV and side by side guy too, but I'm currently without them until we move to Colorado.
Well, I started off with the ATVs when my kids were
Mm,
younger. But as I got older, there's a saying that comes with those, and that is that with age comes cage. You
Yeah,
know, getting thrown off an ATV hurts a lot more now than it did back then. And
mm.
so you put a cage around you and you strap yourself in, and it's a little bit more comfortable.
Uh,
yeah.
I saw a lot of ATVs on my way back from Wisconsin, and they all were covered in mud.
Well,
That's the most fun about it.
Yeah, yeah.
well, that's also because unless you live on the coast or someplace where there is a lot of sand, then what you're doing is you're riding these things in the forest hills on dirt and mud roads.
Hmm.
But out here, I mean, most people are taking them down to the coast to ride in the dunes, where
Does this does the sand get into the wheels or cause any trouble? I would think the sand could be a little bit abrasive in
I mean, it is.
things.
I mean, it does wear the chains, faster, but for the most part, it doesn't really harm that much, if your air filters are good and you keep your
Mm.
fluids, and all that, and wash it down when you get home. The sand comes with a little salt too, because they're usually at the beach, and
Oh,
there's some,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. You've
so
got
you do
this
have a little bit of
corrosion of
that.
salt.
So, but
And see where we are, Bruce, we go up to Wisconsin where Eric was and stuff like that, and they use snowmobile trails too. They've now,
yeah,
it was before they wouldn't let the ATVs on the snowmobile trails because they would tear up the trail. Then they realized that it supplements the income and everything like that all summer, so they allow that. But when you ride an ATV up in Wisconsin or even a side by side, it's not a matter if you're going to crash. You
yeah,
will you will hit a tree at some point in time. It's just a matter of how
Mm.
hard and how fast. So, like you said, a
Oh,
cage, a cage, and a seatbelt as you get older, not bad idea.
that's exactly right. And getting back to the Suzuki, and I still don't want to distract because I know this is a Yaesu topic. But since you brought it up again, I'll show one more picture. Now, this is not me, but I found this when I was up visiting a friend who is building a cabin just south of Mount St. Helens. And so
mm.
and so where his place is, they get
No,
six they get six or more
Oh,
feet. They get 6 or more feet of snow. And if you have a cabin up there and you don't have one of these, you're not getting in or out.
wow.
So what they do,
Eric,
and
you
this,
need Eric, you need one of those on the farm.
Yeah. Hey.
so that's actually a sidekick. That's a Suzuki sidekick. That
Oh, it looks like one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bob,
anyway,
you also need one of those.
Bruce, do you have any idea how much that setup costs?
I don't, but I would guess it's probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 grand.
No, it's more
Oh,
than that.
Each, each.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that, Bruce, to put those
Yeah.
tracks on.
Yeah.
Hmm. I would think that's 3 or 4 grand each wheel.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work? The axle just goes into the mechanism there on the track, I guess.
I don't
Yeah.
really know how it works.
I've seen some others do it. They take the wheels off and they just really screw right on, and where the
Oh,
hub would bolt on, it bolts on inside there and you're good to go.
Yeah,
and does it throw off your speedometer?
I'm sure. Well, I don't know about that. I don't
Hmm.
think people care about their speedometers when you're running one of
No.
these.
Right. Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. This is uh this is a picture of that area. So there's Mount St. Helens in the background. Oh no, sorry, that's Mount Adams. That's not St. Helens.
Mm.
Um, and this is only about a mile from where my friend's property is that he purchased. And St. Helens is we did find
Gosh,
we did find some snow.
that
Uh,
is a beautiful area there.
it's gorgeous. It really is.
Hmm.
I think I think that's St. Helens right there. That's the backside. So you're not really seeing the
Mm.
crater because the crater is on the other side of that hill, right?
Hmm.
But oh look, I did bring my mag mount. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. Uh,
Wow. Gentlemen, I'm unfortunately going to have to, well, maybe fortunately for some, I'm going to have to depart. I've got to go to an event in the park here. That they're having a little event in the park, and I'm helping out an RC flying club today. So
oh, that's
I
cool.
guess I should get myself there. So
Are you using
I guess
amp bands for the transmitters?
no, no, I think we're using 2.4 gigs. And I don't know if we're flying or just demonstrating it, trying to recruit some club members, perhaps. So that's how
Eric,
that
if you're
goes.
flying, could you please have somebody record the crash for me?
I'm not going to even bring a plane, so we'll see.
Smart
All
move.
right,
Safe,
gentlemen.
better for the
Good.
kids.
All right. Is anybody going to do field day this year?
Eric,
Yes,
Eric and I are going to be partners for a while.
Ah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to try to
And
throw one up,
looking,
but I'm not. I got other stuff going on too, so it's going to be a little difficult. But
yeah.
Yeah, I got
Frankie, good to see you. Neil, good to see you. Dave, Bob, Brian, it's even good to see you, believe it or not. And
Have a good
we'll see you
afternoon.
all later.
Take care.
Okay. Oh, there's Jonathan.
Take care.
Yeah.
You could
Hello,
have left
Jonathan.
already
I
so he
got
didn't have to see you.
I missed the beginning
Okay.
of that. Hi. Something about not
I've got
seeing
to,
me.
I'm going to another event, so I've got to run. So, cheerio.
Just got there in time. See ya.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Brian. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, Jonathan, just the guy I wanted to bother besides Ari.
Right.
Lab 599. Have you ever looked at their stuff?
No, never heard of it.
Okay.
Lab 599.
Okay. I would have thought you might have been familiar with that one.
Doesn't mean a thing to me.
All right. Well, they're made in Russia. They make it's a portable unit, very similar to the KX3 and stuff like that. But just wondering if you were familiar with them. I mean, the footprint on them is so small; they're like a military built piece of equipment and stuff like that. It's been, you could buy a German company makes an amplifier that pairs up really nicely with it and stuff like that. I was just wondering if you're familiar with them.
All right. Yeah, sounds interesting. No, I don't. I don't really. It's more for sort of out and about stuff, I suppose. And didn't really look at the aircraft KH1 because it's all the new Yaesu FTX1 because it doesn't bother me either.
Yeah, well, that thing's kind of by the time you add everything onto it, for $1,800, you know,
Mm,
it's a little bit lighter than the FTDX10. When you put
mm,
the amplifier on it, you do get so, but you got UHF VHF, which is an add-on, but I don't know about that guy either. And if
no,
you run it with the battery, it's only 6 watts, so that's pretty much QRP. And if
yeah.
external, it's 10 watts. So, it's for $1,500, you got a 10-watt radio, and I don't know if that includes a tuner. I know with the amplifier, it has a tuner, and that's like $1,900.
Mm. Yeah, as I say, none of those particularly float my boat. Um, I told my wife some time ago when I bought the K4 that I didn't need another radio, and I stick by that. I still don't want another radio. I've got the FTDX 101 and I've got the K4, and together they are. I am replete, as you say. Um,
Hey, Bob, you said you were looking for somebody to talk about the features of the 101.
Filtering.
Have all those nice little fancy things. What about Jonathan?
What if he wants to do it? That's fine.
Well,
I've scheduled him, but I left it open. He's going to pick a subject.
yeah, I don't
So
know what to do really. I mean, I've got a number of things I could talk about. Do
Jonathan, none of us, what's left of the guys with the 101 know how to fully utilize the radio. I don't use 60% of this radio. I never did.
I don't use it very often. I mean, I use it sometimes. I use it as a second radio now because the K4 is. I'm doing CW most of the time, and I like the. I've got used to the features on that, but um, yeah, I could put something together about that, or I can talk
very
about a little bit about the work I do, or I could talk a little bit about all the remote stuff and internet stuff, or
Eric had
um,
mentioned that he wasn't really comfortable or didn't have a knowledge enough about using all the filtering, and that was possibly what might make an awful lot of sense for all of us. I mean, I get this thing is great, but I use maybe
yeah,
10% of it.
Well, the
yeah.
other thing, It would apply to the DX10 and the 710 almost. Not the 710 so much, but the DX10 as well.
Yeah, yeah. Just wondering because I could put the stuff up on the screen, couldn't I? The actual thing, and then play with the radio. Just need some decent signals at the time and whatnot. Um, yeah, I'll have a think because it's trying to do it well. And I talk about something, I like to do it well. And the trouble is, you've got to have the right types of signals to hand to be able to show, the right conditions to show off the different bits. If you've got S9 signals on 20 meters, it doesn't help because you don't need the features then. So you've got to find the ones that you want, and you can spend more time doing that than you could do. It's hard to can that stuff in advance just to play it through and say, well, this is a recording I did of somebody who I was digging out the noise by using X, Y, and Z on the radio. But that's a lot of effort to try and find that and then record it and then whatnot. So yeah, I can talk about it, but it would be nice to show it if we were going to do that. It's
Well,
more of a
I'll see if
demo
I can
thing, isn't
find.
it?
Eric had suggested that possibly there's something on YouTube. I'll check around and see if I can find somebody to talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a can pitch and can show the different signals and how it can filter out.
Mm,
I got a question, an HF question. Is anybody getting out on 10 or 12 meters?
It's local. It's local. When I say local, it's just U.S. I haven't got the only thing I've got outside is Costa Rica, but everything's been all in continental U.S. 6 meters has been open like crazy over here. It's unbelievable. It's been open for like 4 hours this morning, which is
mm.
kind of unusual. It's been open for 2 weeks every day. But 10 meters was open a little, and there was a guy on 10 meters jabbing away most of the day today. I think he was in Alabama or something like that.
I've had mostly dead silence on 10 for quite a while.
Yeah,
And
it is. And 12 is follows in suit, but 15 and 17 have been fairly active over here.
I don't have a good antenna for 6. I've been thinking about doing that. Um, One idea I had is I have a 10-meter dipole in my attic, which I don't really use much because I have my big antennas up at 40, 45 feet. But I thought I could either convert that to a 6-meter dipole or add a 6-meter fan to it and uh,
Mm.
and try that. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
good idea.
it'd be really easy to do, and I can walk around in my attic very simply. So that'd be a simple, easy addition.
Yeah.
And none of
No,
it's
that's
been DX, Bruce. It's all local traffic. I mean, everything has been like from Florida up to Chicago. There's some
Yeah.
Canadian stuff up there a little bit and things like that, but I haven't seen any DX on 6 meters. I've never made a DX on 6 meters in my life. In my life.
yeah. I've worked the States on 6 meters from here, but not very often, not recently. I haven't done anything recently, but in the past, I've certainly worked the XL6. It's the magic band, and it's the one that opens, and when it opens, it's fun, and when it doesn't, it's not. You've got to be patient with 6 meters. I think it's a specialized thing. You've got to want to wait for it and want to seek it out when it arrives, and it's likely to be quite sporadic. I mean, I presume it's sporadic. The reason it's been open.
The other thing too, Bruce, is if you do get on 6 meters, they want your grid square. I don't know what the big deal is. Why you got to give your grid square? Because if you put somebody in on QRZ with your signal report, you can see their grid square on QRZ. So, but they want you to give the grid square. So, which
Yeah, it's usual on VHF. It's pretty standard on VHF. As soon as you get into those bands, and you can pick people up on the beam and things like that. That's why we do it on VHF, UHF, is because you've got a grid square. You can turn directly to where you want to be and optimize it.
But
Good.
Bob, weren't you talking about putting a 6 meter on on your tower?
Yeah, right. There's no one on.
Oh, put it on in the morning when not when you first get up, but a little bit later on. There's been a lot of activity. I haven't heard anything on the West Coast, but there's been a lot of stations. Yeah, just put it on there and just let it sit from what is it, 50125 up, and you'll spot some activity on there. They've been on the Summit and DX Summit and some of the other ones. They show up every morning lately.
Yeah, you've got to really use those sort of tools to find people and to know that it's open because it's otherwise you're gonna be tuning around a lot for not very much.
Yeah.
Guys, I need to book. I've got a 1 o'clock that I got to get to. So appreciate the
Good
time
luck
and
with
it.
the
Nice to
good
see you
luck with the
guys.
6 meter dipole.
Yeah,
We'll
no,
hear about it next time. Yeah,
I'd like to do that. It'll be easy.
yeah,
Take care.
yeah.
All right, have a good one,
See
Bruce.
you.
See you, Bob.
See you all.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dave over there, I've been using the Polo app every day for spotting and stuff like that. For since I can't get any DX or anything like that, I've decided to slum around and talk to people on the continental U.S. So I figured I'd do all 50 states and stuff like that. So I've been using that to spot guys in specific states that I know I need. Not that I can hear them, but I use that, and then I see if I can tune them up on the band and stuff like that. But it got somebody on our group reflector from the club got a hair up their butt and started asking questions about this, and if anybody knows about it and everybody uses it, because evidently he just got an award or something like that, the developer for that. And so now everybody in the club there's like a whole chain of questions about loading ADF files and transferring files. Is it stored on your phone? Is it stored in is it in the iCloud, or is it stored on your phone slash iPad? All sorts of stuff. I have not uploaded to my N3FJP yet, but I don't think it'd be any kind of a big deal. But I put eight contacts in on Saturday when I was in the park and stuff. So I've been using it a little bit.
Turn a microphone on, maybe it'll work better. The whole reason to add an ADA file into it would be to have QRZ-like information if you're not online someplace. Like if you're online, it'll just pop up. If you set it to connect to QRZ whenever you put a call sign in, and it'll just show what QRZ has. But if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have no internet connection, then it'll look in your previous contacts that you've made using Polo. And then if you've like what I do is I downloaded my ADA file from N3FJP, which was 2 megs, maybe something like that. 45, 50,000 contacts. I forget maybe more than that. I don't know. And then you import that into Polo, and Polo will look at that too to see if you have any prior contacts. It's just looking for any place it can to find out who you're talking to. Or you
Yeah,
can
I mean,
just say, "Hi, what's your name?"
yeah, that's exactly what one of the guys said. He said, "Well, if you're out in the field and you're using it and you're putting it in, is it going up into the cloud or is it staying locally on the device?" And he goes, "Well, if it's locally on the device, how are you going to compare it to what your existing contacts are from your N3FJP or whatever logging software you have?" But now you just explained it. You reverse it. You take what was in your N3FJP, put that into Polo, and it does compare it on then locally on your phone or whatever.
And you could also, if you use the QRZ logbook, you could download the ADIF from that and put that in there also. And it might be
Okay.
a lot of duplicates of what you have in N3FJP, but it's still another source for it to look at to
Yeah,
see.
mine's the same.
I mean, if knowing who you're talking to is important to you, you can go through that. If I went all through that and I went, oh, that was interesting. I spent, an hour doing that, and you can see the guys
Why
from
bother?
Seven Land, and he's probably from Seven Land, and you know, and you put your antenna to Seven Land. I turn my ham stick, to Seven Land, so it tunes in better. Yeah, I had somebody firmly convinced that a horizontal monopole antenna like that could be tuned in to certain direction. Yeah. I guess technically it can if you moved it around on the top of your car. It might go one way better than another by about a billionth of a point, but
All these guys that come out in the park, we were out last Saturday. Thank God Eric was in Wisconsin, but he still drove me crazy on he texted me every 5 minutes. Can you call me? Can you contact me? Blah blah blah. But the DX Commander that I use, the little Rapide, it takes me 20 minutes to set up. I've got six bands without having to have to go out and change the stick or do anything else. All I got to do is just switch it on my radio. Once I've tuned it, I'm good to go. So I've been loving that thing, and it's so light. It's like not even 3 pounds. A little bit big for POTA, but for the
I'll use
one time,
I use my DX10.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm
Hamsters
using
on the roof. I From the time I hit park until the time I hit transmit's about a minute.
Yeah, see, I'm about 20 minutes to set up the antenna plus another, hooking it up to the radio. So I mean that's a long time. By that time you've already moved on to the next park.
Yeah, and that's only if my chair doesn't give me trouble trying to unfold it. Let me get something. I got another source for you that might be helpful.
John in Canada. Hello, John in Canada.
Hi, John.
You're on mute.
No, I had my hand on the wrong mouse.
John,
Things
who
are
who
good
we
here.
who we pick, who we picking tonight, John?
I'm not sure. The only thing I know for sure is that if Florida wins, number 63 is going to get the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, that little rat's doing pretty damn good over there. Yeah, it was a good trade.
And, I have to admit that I don't like the way he plays, chippy and elbows up and sticking with his stick and all that. But as a player, I'd rather play with him than against him.
You know what? For an old guy, he's still doing pretty good. You gotta give him credit. As is the other old guy on Edmonton, who's making a good showing at 40 years old. But I'm hoping for your Canadian team up there. I know they're not your favorite team, but I'd like to see Edmonton at least take it to 7 at least.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I will be watching tonight.
I as well. Ice hockey, Jonathan.
I guessed. Yeah.
If Florida wins tonight, Edmonton's out, and these are the same two that went at it last time, and Florida won last year. So,
All right.
yeah, time to let and everybody down here is like that. I talk to them like, forget Canada. Why are you going to send the cup back to Canada? I'm like, share the love a little bit, share it a little bit.
No,
Hey,
no, no,
Brian.
no. It needs to come home. Stanley
Oh,
needs to
oh,
come home.
home is in the U.S. of A.
No, 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 no. Lord Stanley was the Governor General of Canada. That's a Canadian trophy. It needs to come home.
Hmm.
What's up, Dave?
Go, are you, here's a dumb question. Are you in front of your computer? Um, there's a website called fieldspotter.radio. And what it does is it goes to all the POTA spots and plots them on a map.
David, I heard you talking a
Oh
few
yeah,
minutes ago about Polo for logging on POTA applications. Does that app work pretty well?
Yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah.
one we were just talking about, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used
Um,
to use hammers, but I think Polo is when I switched over, Polo was better. Now Hammers has made some significant improvements, but I have not gone back to take a look at it because I'm happy with what I had.
yeah, well, my problem is that with an iPad or an iPhone, I have the fat fingered syndrome. It's probably easier for me to type on a laptop with a keyboard. I still make mistakes, of course, but um, on those touch keyboards, I don't type very well or very quick.
Well, I got one of these guys, and
Oh yeah,
then this thing opens up like an easel, but this will, if I'm in a car in the winter, this will hang right over top of the steering wheel and
that's a
just hangs down
that's
like
an
that.
iPad,
Yeah, that's iPad.
big one or normal size.
This is the regular size. I have a bigger one too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's worth looking into.
yeah,
You can get one of these and use it with the iPad.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good thought.
yeah.
Thank you, John.
The bigger one I use in a teleprompter, and it connects wirelessly to this one, so I can run the teleprompter from across the room on the two of them. But that's why I got the bigger one. But I have Polo on the bigger one too. Um, Otherwise, if
I'm
I'm
using
running
I'm
out of the
using
back of the car, I'll just set this up on the back of the next to the radio.
I'm using mine with an what is it, iPhone 13 Max or whatever it is. And Dave, I think you already pointed out right off the get-go, it is not easy to use on the phone. It's not that hard, but I looked at the iPad Mini to do it and stuff like that. I got rid of all my iPads. My wife's got my last one and stuff like that. But I'm just wondering how they do in the sun. Yeah, that little guy. Yep. How do they do in the sun, Jonathan?
Yeah, I can see it outside. I haven't had any problems. I don't use it a lot outside, but
I
Is that a mini?
I always point my car into the sun, so if I'm in the back of it, the tailgate is I'm shielded. Everything's in shade in the back of the car.
Yeah, because I'm sure your DX10 is like my 710. I don't care what you do with it. If it's not totally enclosed, I can't even read the 710. I got a little pop tent, like a little camper tent that with the little stakes in and the sticks inside and stuff, and I put the 710 in there, then I could see the screen. But otherwise, even with a little shroud on it, I can't see that. And I was worried about the iPad too, because the iPad's nice because you can use the pen feature and scratch write your notes on there, and then you just move it over and go into the Polo app and stuff, and put the stuff in. So
Yeah, I put
mm,
a split screen. I use
yeah, with the screen.
the Notes app on one side. What I used to do is I get a pile up, I would write them down on paper and then drop the paper on the floor, and then that would be annoying. So I figured out how to get the Notes app split screen with the Polo app, and then Polo came up with this thing where if you're in a pile up, you type in the where you would put in the call sign. You type in the call sign or whatever you can hear of the call sign, hit two forward slashes, do the next one, two forward slashes, do the next one, two forward slashes, do the next one. And then let's say you got five of them there. You go to the last one, which would be the most recent, or you can say like, all right, Alpha Bravo, stand by, Bravo Charlie, stand by, I'll get to you in a minute, blah, blah, blah. And you go to the last one on that string there, and you say, all right, Alpha Bravo 4, what was your full call sign? So you type that in and hit enter. It will enter just that and leave that list in the block where you type in the call signs. But you have to have that double forward slash in between whatever piece of information you were able to get. And then you modify it. And if you wait until October, I'll really explain it to you with pictures.
No,
So
it's
the reason
been
I'm the special guest in October. They're
the,
really
re- the reason I got the reason I got the iPod Mini was because it fits in a jacket pocket in a suit pocket. I don't have to carry a bag when I go working. I can just
yeah.
take that, and I've got all my presentations on it and everything else. So I don't like carrying a bag, especially when I go into London on the tube network and stuff. I'd rather have everything in my pockets.
I forgot the iPads once when I went to activate it, and I have it on my phone, so I did it on my phone, and I was like, well, "This is a bad idea. This is a real
okay.
bad idea to try to, do this efficiently while you're juggling a microphone too, and a cup of coffee, and
So the thing is that when they in the fall when they bring out iOS 26, which is the next version of the operating system, they're doing away with split screen, so you won't multitask like that anymore. But you can have separate windows, so you can. It's like on a Mac, you can resize the windows, you can
Yeah.
put them where you like, and stuff like that. So split screen will be gone, but nobody much will miss it, I think.
Yeah, Dave, I'm doing the same thing. I've got a notepad. So if I hear somebody out there and stuff like that, I write the call sign down in the notepad and stuff like that. I'll do my QSO and my signal report with them. Then I'll go into the Polo app and I'll put the information in there right away because that has all the time and everything with it. So I don't have, log the time and stuff like that separately. So I'm doing twice the work basically every time. It's
Yeah.
pretty labor intensive. But I was thinking on the iPad, if you could scratch with the pen on one side and take it on a note on there instead of a piece of paper and then have the Polo app, as you said, up next to it or just swipe it across and then just pop it in there, it's a lot easier. I mean, and the paper blowing around and stuff like that in the wind, lifting up and stuff like that. Like you said, you're holding your mic in one hand, a pen or whatever, and trying to do it. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. So when they introduced that new feature where you could just put all of them in, thought I had the directions here for that somewhere. When you could just put them all in, separated by the double slashes, um, that kind of did away with all of that kind of stuff. You don't have to write it down or anything. You just type in whatever you heard. If you heard one character, just put like B slash slash AB4 slash slash X-ray Charlie slash slash. And then, you know what? Hang on a minute. I have to go in a
Yeah,
couple. I got to go in a
that's
couple
what I
minutes.
do.
Let me see if I can demo this here.
That's what I do with Skookum Logger in the contest because you can, when you put the call sign in, you can just put a comma next to it and put partial calls of anything else you heard. So you work the guy and then you say, right, the guy with Alpha Bravo because it's the next one, and it just moves them along, puts the next one in, makes it the active call sign, and then when you log that one, it makes the next one after the comma the active call sign. So you can put a list of as many calls as you hear or partial calls that you hear. Similar
You
sort of
still have to go
idea to.
back and edit. You still have to go back and edit them, though, don't you, Jonathan? How do you get the full call sign in?
Oh yeah, because you haven't heard the full call sign usually because they doubled, but
Until you confirm your queue, so then you go back and you click on it and then
but
put it in.
because you're working six a minute or whatever on a contest, you log that one and then you say right the station with Alpha Bravo and you come back Alpha Bravo for something or other and you put that in and give them the exchange, work that one, enter, and the next one's ready. Just a aid memoir, so you don't have to go to a notepad or so you don't have to remember what you've heard. It's stacking calls basically.
Can you can you let me
Yeah.
share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. It's on.
Hold on. Uh,
Yep. There's Dave's iPad. We had you. Yeah, you have to allow
all
it to
right.
do screen
So
recording.
let's say you got a. Can you see this? No,
No,
it's
you,
not.
you had it up, but we've lost it again. We've got your face back again twice. You need to share it again.
Uh, maybe I can't do it on this.
No, you did have the iPad up for a moment because we saw the dock along the bottom, and but it disappeared again. You had the thing up with the allow screen recording button because you've got to give Zoom. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, now we can see. Yeah, now we can see it. Polo in your POTA directory folder.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's say you got a pile up, and you hear Alpha Bravo, and then N2AS, and then N3RT, and then Fox Golf, and then A. So you go to the last one on the list. You say, all right, who is it that started with an A and they say AB3WE, for example, and you just hit enter, it makes that. Why am I pointing at that? It makes that the next one up on the list there. I mean, it enters that. But you see where I made a mistake. I did not put double slashes in between. I just put single slashes. So let me do that again. TR
Double slash.
R5.
No, you've done it again. Double
Yeah,
slash.
that's my downfall here. So let's say
Right.
you got R5Y, and the guy says, all right, it's Romeo 5 Yankee Alpha. So you do that. And then the next guy, who's the Tango Romeo guy? Tango Romeo 5 Yankee Bravo. There, makes that entry. And it just knocks him off the list and puts him up as an entry. So N2AS, what's your call sign? Oh, that's it. It's N2A or SA. Okay, so he goes up there. So then Alpha Bravo 5, what's yours? Tango Hotel. Okay, then you're up there. And no paper, no nothing. You just have to remember those double slashes. But if you mess up and put them in as a single slash like I did, all hope is not lost because the information is in that entry. And so like I can say, all right, I screwed up. I didn't put AB3WE. So AB3WE, I'll put him in there. And then Fox Golf, I think he said, 7H. So I'll put him in there. And then I'll go up there on this entry and modify this since I already have all those people in there. So now I'm all squared away. That's all you had to do. Yep. You see what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, so you're using that as your notepad, basically, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not moving around. I mean, you're setting up and you're activating, so you're going to be on the same frequency. You're not bouncing around between different bands and frequencies and stuff like that. So for you, all you're concerned about is a call sign and a signal report.
Right.
He also doesn't have Eric next to him.
Well, if he had Eric next to him, then we wouldn't have to listen to Eric the next time Tuesday came up, because Dave wouldn't put up with that stuff.
Or Eric.
So, all right, guys,
He
I have
does.
to leave to go to work. We're doing a live show over in Philly tonight, one of the parks. So I have to go over there and run cables all over the place and see how many people I can trip.
Here you
I'm
go.
gonna leave myself connected to record the rest of the thing. So then, because I figure I was thinking I would just record every one of these, put them on. If anybody wants to go back and look at something, go ahead if I'm available. So.
Thank you.
You
Thanks,
guys
Dave.
have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for
Take
the
care.
field plotter. There's my buddy Ed, my rare DX to Florida on my daily basis.
Small group today.
Yep.
Did you miss me, Ed, since yesterday?
Absolutely. I almost forgot today was Tuesday. I was busy playing with the radio.
Which one?
The 7760. It totally integrates with the PW2. So when you turn on the 7760, it automatically turns on the amp.
Yeah. My 101 does that with the Quadra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a special device on the KPA 1500 that turns it on automatically. It's called an on and off switch.
Right, Neil. Why didn't I think of that?
Neil, you in a different place today.
What's that, Frankie?
You in a different place today.
You're in a different room, Neil.
Oh,
You're
it's
not
the
in the
same
chat.
room, but just a different view.
Ah. Right.
I'm upstairs today instead of downstairs.
I could be in any room because it's not my room you're actually looking at. So was this supposed to start 21 minutes ago at 2100 local here, or was it had you been going an hour before that? I'm still confused.
Going for an hour.
Right. So when I joined, you were already there for an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to change
2000,
my cut.
2000 Zulu or 2000
Yeah.
hours.
Right. Okay. Well, 2000 Zulu is 2100 local here, which is why I
Ah,
came on at 2100. But
gotcha.
it's not. You're starting at 19 Zulu then.
Well, I'm confused. It's 2000 Zulu as far as I know, regardless of what the local time is. The Zulu, I was told, does not change.
Does not change.
No, Zulu doesn't, but we do. So because you said 2000 Zulu, it's
Right.
2100 local for me because I'm
Right.
an
I
hour ahead of
understand.
Zulu.
Right.
So I come on at 2100, but you say you've been going an hour. I don't
Yeah.
understand because that would have been 1900 Zulu when you started. Doesn't matter. I'm here now. It will matter if I'm doing the talk because I need to start at the same time as everybody else.
I had an interesting situation earlier today. I have an old friend of mine. He used to live, well, Bob Kaneko, NH6L. He's Hawaiian. And we met and were good friends many years ago when he was here in the Atlanta area. He was living here. He worked for one of the big cable companies. And he moved back to Hawaii and because he's native Hawaiian. And when he retired, he moved to Texas. He said he can't afford to live in Hawaii on his retirement pension, which I could believe. Anyway, we've been good friends for years, and I was helping him with Ham Radio Deluxe and integrating it with the Rota controller. And he is just having the worst problem in getting that integrated. It's pretty simple to do. And one of the things that this was interesting, I finally said to him, how many COM ports are on your computer? He said, one. I said, where are you getting your other COM ports? He said, from a hub. I said, there's your answer. A lot of programs do not like a hub and they won't work
Mm.
properly. And I said, you need to get away from that laptop, get a real computer that has some USB ports built in. And if you use the ones that are built in to the computer, everything should work. You can get away with the mouse and a keyboard, things like that, working through a hub. But there are some software issues that just do not like a hub and they won't work. He's working on that now. We'll see. We'll get him fixed.
Yeah, I'm starting to with my futurist hat on. I'm taking the view now that any computer that you have to sit at or hold on your lap is a bit passé. Um, the only modern computer is if you wear it.
Well, what Bob was trying to do, Jonathan, was to integrate. He has the high gain Rota controller, the YRC1 controller that high gain made for the Yaesu.
Yeah.
And I had the same controller.
Right.
and he's using his COM3, which pops up, and 4800 as the baud rate, which is what all that rotor controller will take. It's interesting that in the setup, you have to tell it the baud rate, the COM port, and there's a setting in Ham Radio Deluxe on the rotor. It's called a refresh rate. If you have it set to none, it will not work.
Mm.
If you have it set to 1 second, it works fine. It's just one of the mysteries of the software
Yeah.
program itself.
A lot of these my rotators are the same. They're different ones, but they only work at 4800. Uh, you don't need a fast connection really for rotation. But yeah, they're of the age that that was the normal speed in those days. Um,
Interesting on that software for the rotor controller. It originally was written by a couple of guys located in South Georgia. And the original controller was an MDS. That was the trade name. And they wound up selling that to Martin at MFJ. And that's what you tell. You don't tell it that it's a high gain controller. You tell it's an MDS controller. It works interesting quite well.
mm. Yeah, I'm going to rip out my all my shack soon after this coming weekend. All the stuff you see around me here is take it out, clean everything, unplug everything, and replug everything back together with do a spring clean. It's quite a lot of cabling behind there for me. They call it wireless, but it's not wireless in my case because everything is connected to the computer by at least one cable. That's all the normal radio cables. So there's quite a lot to, and I'm adding some more stuff as well. I'm putting a receiver guard on the front of the receive antenna input on the K4, so that needs an extra BNC cable. I'm putting a 2 meter transverter from Ukraine on the transverter input and output of the K4 as well to go to my 2 meter amplifier. And
Jonathan, your two Yaesu rotors, are they controlled through the computer or manual?
oh yeah, through the computer, everything is computer controlled. I mean, I use them manually as well, but the idea is that software can use it, and then when I'm remote, it still works because I can get to the computer and still use it.
Did
So
you get the Yaesu connection for the USB? No.
no, it's far too expensive and
Yeah,
limited.
that's what I
I
found.
I use the German Easy Rotor board that you can get. You put it in on one of them. One's a G1000 DXC and one's a KR Ken Pro, but it's a Yaesu rotator that's rebadged Ken Pro 800. So it's like the G800 because it's only a small stack for the VHF antennas. The HF ones are on the 1000 SDX, and one of them had the power supply and stuff built in and room inside, so I put the board inside, and the other one didn't, so I put it in a little box that connects to the to the controller. So one's slightly external, and and then the USB cable comes off of those.
The YRC1 controller, the high gain controller, is plug compatible with the Yaesu, the 6-pin Molex connector.
Yeah,
If you just plug one in, plug the other one in. The
yeah,
difference is the high gain controller will utilize a USB connection for software control, which is very, very nice. and it works extremely well.
Yeah.
And you're only using 5 pins on the cable with
Yeah.
the small rotor, the 450. And the
Hmm.
interesting thing about the 450 rotor, the earlier ones, like the one I have had for a number of years, for whatever reason in their brain, Yaesu decided that that rotor would be 24 volts AC,
Yeah.
which would all other rotors basically use 24 volts DC.
Yeah. Yeah.
A high gain controller has the built-in supply to provide 24 volts AC. You can go into the setup and you tell it whether the rotor is AC or DC.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 years ago, Yaesu decided, for whatever reason, they were going to get with the rest of the world. And they changed the 450 to 24 volts DC. So
Yeah.
you had to be very careful in knowing, what you had as a rotor controller. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't want to tell it it's a 24 volt AC if it's a DC controller.
No. If
Not
I
be
share my if I share my diagram for a minute of the shack that some of you have seen before. So here you can see the controller things over this side. You've got the
Yeah.
KR800 SDX, which goes straight to a USB hub, because it's got the interface built into. I put the board inside the KR800, but this one's got the easy rotator interface as a separate box that I plug into the G1000 DXC, and then it needs power because it's not in the box. This one takes power from the rotator controller. And then this one's USB back into the same hub, and then they go into the computer. So,
Jonathan, I have a similar uh, chart. Let me go find that and hold on a sec.
so I've
And
got to put my, I'm going to have a new, my Ukrainian 2 meter transverter in this, in this area here. Instead of antenna 4, I'll be taking it out the transverter output instead. This was ideal for the built-in A4 transverter, but since that's not showing any signs of materializing out of Elecraft, I'm going to put an external one in. So I'll put that in there. The receiver guard will go on the receive antenna input here. If I can make my thing bigger, there we are. Yeah, and I've also invested in a Y box from N6TV, Bob, so I can split something out of the aux cable that comes from the K4D, and take it not just to the KPA 1500 and my bandpass filter set, but also take it over here to the stepper controller um,
I
so that I
see
can.
DA 100 for the step IR.
Mhm.
It's a bummer that they're going, well, they're not out of business. They're out of the ham radio business.
Yeah, that's right.
That's sad.
Yeah,
That's really
so
sad.
that inhibit line on there to stop it tuning the stepper when I've got the amplifier in line. So that Y box will do that. It'll also help me remotely turn on the K4 when I turn the KPA 1500 on. So yeah, so I've got a few more bits and pieces to add in here. Be version 11, I reckon. We'll get to that one. Anyway, let me stop that.
Okay. Can I screen share, Bob?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
It's
on.
on. Yeah.
Time
Uh,
for me to get my dinner. See you next week.
See you, John.
See you,
okay.
John.
There we go. There's the screen share. This is from N6 Tango Victor, Bob Wilson, and he interfaces with his little box my 101 MP and the DX10, along with the W2 IHY, it's called an E plus. And all that does is it shunts the audio and the amplifier keying to each other. And the built into his S box is the step IR controller. It has a circuit that will not allow me to key up the step IR vertical. I have the vertical because the garden in the back is not big enough to get a big beam in. That's why I use the hex beam. But what it does is it will not allow the step IR to transmit while it's tuning. It's just a safety. And this whole thing interfaces the linear and also the displays for the FDDX10 and the 101 MP. And it really is a slick way. It's seamless. So let me go stop share. You can't mess up it's plug and play. And let me stop share. There we go. Okay. I'm Bob is a terrific guy. He's active on the Elecraft group, and his knowledge is amazing. Not only of Elecraft, where he's a bloody genius, he really is. He's just a nice person, and I was trying to help. Jonathan, you probably remember my old friend John Ellis, November Papa 2 Bravo from the Elecraft group. Well, John and I had been friends, I have to say had, for about 50 years, and it became recently a silent key. Well, Jeanette, I speak to her quite frequently, his wife. She used to be November Papa 2 Charlie when they were living down in the Virgin Islands. And they moved up to the villages in Florida near where Ed is. And she sold a house and moved into an assisted living apartment. And so I got to talk with Bob about a solution for her to continue operating. And what we came up with is there's an Italian manufacturer, DX Engineering sells the loop. It's a mag loop, but it's transmit and receive. And they make a model that will handle 850 watts. Not that she's going to use an amp. She has a K3, or it's a K3S, I don't remember. But she likes to run digital. And the problem, of course, with a lot of antennas, they can't handle that key down power. But this one will. So Bob and I talked about that, and that's what I suggested to Jeanette. And she can put that on her balcony and just leave it sit there and be able to operate. And she enjoys operating. Good operator.
Bob Wilson actually asked after you on Sunday, Neil, because you hadn't been on the Ellicraft group for a little while. So he was saying, had anybody seen you? And I said I'd seen you on here. So to my knowledge, you were well. So he did ask after you though on the net. As you say, he's a nice guy. to think of that. Right, I'm going to make a move, gents, because it's 20 to 10 here, and I've got a lot on at the moment. So I'm in London all day tomorrow for work. So I'll
Good night.
see you next time.
It's bedtime
Take
for
care.
you.
Almost. I'll be up a few hours yet. See you.
So long, Jonathan.
Looks like Ray went away. Edward, how are things in Florida?
Oh, just great. Oh, yeah. It's hot, humid, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, my standard saying when I was gainfully employed and I would leave the state of Georgia and I would drive into Florida to call on, customers that I had down there. As soon as I crossed the line and it said, "Welcome to Florida," the Sunshine State, I went into permanent wilt.
Right. Yeah, I miss New England. I used to complain about the cold weather in Albany, 20, 30 below zero without a wind chill factor. I don't know. Somehow I'm beginning to think that wasn't so bad.
Well, the thing that used to get me nutty was my standard routine. It was at the time when I would drive down I'll call it the Gulf side, the west side of Florida. And when I would, at the end of that first week, I would wind up in Largo, Seminole area, which is Clearwater, because that's where my folks were still alive at the time. And I would spend that with my folks. But what I couldn't stand were those little bugs that no-see-ums or whatever they call
Yeah.
them. And those little shits get on your car. If you don't get them cleaned off, it's going to ruin the finish. There's something about them when they smashed into the window, the windscreen, or into the body of the car. You had to take it to a car wash. They were really hard to get off.
Yeah. So
Well,
there's actually no comparison between the 7760 and the FTDX 101. I mean, the 101 receiver is far superior over the 7760 because the 7760 exact same receiver as the 7610.
yeah, but it's an ICOM, and friends don't let friends buy ICOM.
Well, I'm waiting. I'm pretty sure that at Dayton, ICOM showed the parts under a cover. Like last year, those parts ended up being the 7760. I'm pretty sure that in August at the Tokyo Ham Fair, they're going to come out with the replacement for the 7851. Yeah.
What is interesting to me is that Yaesu, well, originally they did make an amplifier as a tube type amp, but they have, since that was phased out, the 2100, they've never made an amplifier. And I always wondered why. You know, other manufacturers have made them. So, but
Well, I would imagine that with Mercury in the business, that has changed a lot of people thinking on amplifiers. I mean, that's reasonably priced and a spectacular amplifier. Beautiful to look at, one piece versus the KPA 1500, which has a power supply and a control head. Yeah, so I sold my KPA 1500 to my radio club.
well, the KPA 1500, the reason they did that is because of the um, supply voltage for the LDMOS finals on the 1500, and it's outboard. And The one time that I had a problem, this is years ago when I first got the 1500, and I thought I screwed up and I damaged it, but they fixed it under warranty. But the techs at the time at Elecraft said, "Don't send us the power supply. It's not a problem with the power supply
Right.
in the RF deck." And so it was shipping 26 pounds instead of, both of them 52.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I think I mentioned this already. I blew up both amps around the same time. The Elecraft, the KPA 1500, I ran for 6 hours on FT8 and somehow blew the two PAs right out. Then I keyed the Mercury Lux without an antenna, and that should not have blown it, but it did. Now, the power amps in both amplifiers are the exact same model number. Lux had the amplifier back to me in 2 weeks and charged me just for the part, which was $549. Elecraft took 3 months to get the amp back to me and charged me $1,060 because they naturally charge labor on top of the parts.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Edward. How many of the finals, the LDMS finals, are in the Mercury, and how many in the
Two, both in both amplifiers. It's exactly the same part, and there's two in the Lux and two in the Elecraft.
So the Lux is capable of 1500?
Yeah, well, actually, it's capable of a lot more. One day I made a mistake. I'd make a lot of mistakes. I should have ham radio for dummies. I inadvertently was using the 101, and I guess I forgot to check what power level it was. And I turned around, and the Lux is putting out 1800 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm the Lux is a really nice amp.
It is. And if I ever had to replace the KPA 1500, I would probably get a Lux
Yeah.
because it is so rare that I run 1500 or even 1400 watts. I just don't do it. I can run 1400 watts CW for a long period of time, and I watch the temperature, and it rarely gets above 30 degrees C. Now, FT8, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
It'll climb very quickly, and you got to watch that. That's what damages any solid state amp is the temperature.
Yeah, the FT8 for 6 hours, that's what did it in. But the interesting thing is this new amp, the PW2, it doesn't heat up, and the temperature is in Fahrenheit. So it will go up after I'm working on it for an hour or two, about 2 degrees.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter whether it reads in C or Fahrenheit. But I suspect that you can the lux can be set to display Celsius. I'm willing to bet that they have that option in the setup because of a lot of European stations, the metric system and C is what they use.
Yeah, well, the Lux is in C. The PW2 is in Fahrenheit.
Oh,
Yeah, that's in Fahrenheit.
Can you select it in C?
I don't think so.
I'll bet you can.
Yeah, I just haven't gone through all the menus yet.
I can't imagine ICOM, a Japanese company, not making something that's going to read in Celsius.
Yeah, I probably changed it to Fahrenheit, and I'm sure it's probably there someplace in one of the menus.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had not been stubborn and years ago switched to metric. because it's so much more logical. Go tell somebody, I want 19/64ths of an inch. Go figure that sucker out. But you tell somebody, I want 10 centimeters, that's it. That's easy. Easy peasy. Are you leaving us, Brian?
I am. We've got storms coming in. I had to get the dogs fed and get them out, and they're already starting to get freaky. So, got some nasty weather coming in. So, I'll say goodbye to everyone and have a good
So
week.
long, Brian.
Probably
See you
talk to
tomorrow.
you
See you
tomorrow.
next
Probably
week.
talk to you tomorrow, Ed.
Yep.
I'm
I'm
gonna
on every, I'm
I'm
on
gonna
every
leave
day.
at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock because my buddy who I ride with is picking me up. We have the local club meeting tonight, and so we usually get together with a group of guys for dinner at a Mexican joint. We'll go see what the North Fulton's got tonight. Probably something on field day.
I had Mexican for lunch. There was a new Mexican restaurant that opened up.
Yeah, there's one near us, and Nancy and I had liked getting their food. It was quite good, and it changed ownership recently. And we used to, well, before COVID, we would go into the restaurant. And since COVID, we haven't gone in. We take out. Just we got in the habit, take out. But we have this, I can't remember what it's called, a neighborhood something, and they talk about different things. And a lot of people have said with the new ownership, the food it's just not good. It's degraded and
It's amazing, Neil, how that works. You know, I was a franchisor with my partners of nut and candy shops and regional shopping centers. And in 1983, we sold it. We had 150 locations. A New York Stock Exchange company bought the company. And in 18 months, they wanted to sell it back to us for a third of what they paid. And the reason was because they became greedy and they lost the loyalty of the franchisee. We always put the franchisee first and us second because that's the only way a franchise survives. They looked at it, their Harvard MBAs had a totally different thing, and they destroyed the company. We couldn't even buy it back. They destroyed it.
That's always a shame when you see something you built, and you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it went down the tubes. It's sad.
Yeah.
I had something personally quite weird this week, or a week ago. I'll take that back. For years, I mean, I'm going to soon be 91, so I've had this issue for 91 years, and I had a mole on either side of my head. And when I asked the dermatologist what caused that, he laughed and he said, "It's a present from your mother." And apparently, the forceps or whatever, it caused that. And with I've had them for all those years. Within 1 week, they both fell off. They just
Isn't
just
that amazing? I had a
I can't explain it.
No, but neither can the doctors.
No, he admitted.
Right, exactly. And I had a stroke. And one of the side effects of the stroke was that straight ahead I was fine, but if I looked up, down, left or right, I had double vision. And I had it for 5 years. And they said that if you don't get back what you lost within 18 months, you're never getting it back.
Yeah.
Well, 5 years later, it disappeared.
Yeah.
And another freaky thing that no doctor has been able to explain, as a matter of fact, it really throws them for a loop. I could run 106 fever and not even have a headache. Blows their mind. They said, "Oh, can't be." I had the paramedics come in. At the time, I was running 105.4, and I said to the paramedics, because they're right around the corner, I said, it may not even pay for you to come out. Well, before I could hang up the phone, they were at the door. And he said, "Oh, your thermometer has to be off." I said, "Okay, big shot, throw yours in and see what you got." And they got exactly the same thing, 105.4. And the guy says to me, "I've never seen anything like it." I said, "Well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to throw me in that ambulance. You're going to take me to the hospital. By the time I get there, it's going to be 104. By the time the blood work comes back, it's normal." Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So now the emergency room doctor says to me, "I have to put something down, and I have no idea what caused it." And I said to him, "Well," he says, "I'm going to put down a urinary tract infection." I said, "Do I have that?" He said, "No, but that could cause a spike in temperature."
By the way, the double vision is called diplopia, and that's what double vision is. And I have that if I'm watching television and I'm not looking at the TV straight on. If I'm looking at an angle, I'll have an issue with double vision.
I have that same
If I
thing.
look at it straight on,
Right.
it's no problem.
Well, that's the way I realized it. I'm on a tennis court right after this happened, and I call a ball out, and it was a fresh court. Nothing had played on it. And the guys all went ballistic and said, "What are you talking about? Look where the mark is." And it was 2 feet the other side of the line. I knew I had a problem.
Yeah, it's interesting the way certain things affect temporary. And I've had that. Right now, I go to physical therapy every week. Actually, I call it physical torture.
That's what Barbara calls it. My wife goes 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
She has OT, and right after that, PT. So by the time I take an hour and a half later, she's a physical wreck.
Ed, I have to ask you about one of your other ailments.
Okay.
You brought up an interesting point. My hearing aids are expensive and they're not worth crap when I go into a restaurant. Just hear everything. I can't hear the people right in front of me. You mentioned you had that little thing. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Okay, it's hearing aid specific. So my hearing aids that I get from the VA are manufactured by a company called Resound.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go on Resound's website, they will list all the accessories. And Amazon carries all the accessories. Now, I get the accessories through the VA, but that little thing that's about this size that you could put in the middle of a table, it's about $495. Yeah, it's not an inexpensive thing.
Well, I have some Oticons.
Bob, the hearing aids I have are made by Siemens. It's called Signia, and they have a similar device. And they also have a device, it's a little box, and it streams the audio from the TV into my hearing aids. And when I'm in the car, it couples my iPhone. When I get a phone call in the car, it puts the audio straight into the hearing aids.
Yeah.
Do you wear it as a lanyard around your neck?
No.
No, just place it.
Bluetooth.
I've
Bob?
got Oticons is the brand that I have, and they were $4,500.
Yeah. Did you
And
go to their website?
I have not. I will do that. I
You'll
remember when
find,
I first got these, the audiologist asked me about that and said, "No, I don't need that." But these are crap. They just do not filter out all the noise in a restaurant. It's
do
just
you have an app that ties into
yes,
your,
yeah,
okay. Now, in that app, one of the choices when you're in a restaurant is noise background canceling.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I have four different programs
Yeah.
in it, and I'm trying to remember. We one is called Universal. That's the normal. No,
Jen, right,
right. That's daily, and then there's one that is like for in a theater, a movie theater, and then one in a noisy, what you're talking about situation. Well, I most hearing aids that are well, they're all digital today. The
yeah,
analog is no more, but the digital allows you. You have two microphones, one facing forward and one facing backward.
right.
Well, what I do when I go into a restaurant, two things. I always like to sit in a booth because it kills a lot of the transient noise. And if I sit so that I take the program in my iPhone and I tell the microphones forward. I don't give a shit what's happening behind me. You know, who cares? I want to hear what's in front
Right.
of me.
Well, I
So,
have a program called Lecture, which is supposedly just forward, but I still hear all the bullshit behind me. I'm just really disappointed in these. These are expensive
and
ones, and they don't work.
then your audiologist needs to adjust it to kill the gain backwards.
Yeah.
She has done everything that she can possibly do with all the programming, still isn't worth crap. So I'm looking in that little amplifier box or whatever the hell it is. That might make sense because I can't
Yeah.
hear the people across the table from me. It's
The the
impossible.
the beauty of the little box that hooks up to the TV, it hooks up to the TV optically.
Yes,
And it's independent of the volume control of the TV. So the thing, there used to be a show called Sherlock, and he had a deep English accent. And
Yep,
no matter what I did, I could not
couldn't hear
understand a word the man said. I got this box, paired the hearing aids to it, and all of a sudden, everything was crystal clear. I could understand everything that he said.
they. I have the same box, and it use what is what's. It's a fiber optic cable, or it's
Right.
called TSO.
Yeah.
TSO is the fiber cable because if you plug the box into the output, a regular output, it mutes the audio. So, for example, it would kill the regular volume for Nancy, who has exceptional hearing. She would hear nothing because, but the TSO allows it to link with the box to my hearing aids, and still she can control the audio for her to listen to normally.
Neil, when you're wearing your hearing aids, could you put on a headset while you're on the radio?
Well, yeah, let me just explain something to you. Let me reach down here. These headsets are made by Grado, Grado, Grado Labs. Grado happens to be in Brooklyn, New York. This is all they make. The other thing that they make are stereo cartridges. And if you look at this background, this is just a mesh. It's what's known as an open back.
Ah, so it doesn't affect the hearing aid.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because what happens with traditional headphones is you're blocking the air and the air can't move. But
And
with an open back like the Grados, it works perfectly.
I'm going
And
to order them. Yeah, because what happens is when you have the hearing aids on and you're cupping it with a Pro 7 headset, the
yeah,
feedback could drive you absolutely up a wall.
well, actually, the Heil Pro Set I can use without doing anything to my hearing aids because the distance from where the muff is, it's got a big ear muff,
Yeah.
so you still get the airflow moving, and I can without doing anything. If I really want to be careful, I switch it to what the hell's that setting? It's like it's an adjustment for they call it a T coil.
Yeah.
T coil is for the telephone, and if I put it in T coil, I can use the Heil headset because it couples magnetically and it doesn't require the air movement. But I like for just routine use, if I'm really paying attention, I use the Grado headset, and they make headsets, believe it or not, that are a couple of $1,000, which are for like professional musicians and whatnot. But this headset that I use is their basic model.
What's the
They
model number?
Huh?
What's the model number of it?
Oh, if you go look at the let me just look it up. Put my glasses on, and I'll tell you. It's their least expensive model. It's called an SR Sierra Romeo 60, and it's their basic model. It's about $100, and it comes um, with a gold-plated adapter for quarter-inch stereo or eighth-inch stereo. It comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're the nicest people to do business with. I've got two sets. I've got a set up here, and I've got one downstairs in the shack. And but if I'm using the Heil headset, I do put it in to the what's called a T coil on my setting, which I can adjust by touching the button on the hearing aid and switching it. But the Grados are exceptional, and the audio frequency response is way more than the human can hear. I gotta go because I have to put my shoes on, grab my wallet. My friend John, I ride with him to the club meetings because as
Is,
you know, I no longer drive.
is Grado Labs one word or two words? Grado
Two
Labs.
words.
Two words. That's what I thought.
Grado Labs,
Yep.
but they're good people.
Thanks, Neil.
Later, everybody stay well.
See you next week.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, take care. I just bought the Oticon little receiver. They're $250 on Amazon. I'll see how it works.
Right. Yeah. How do you like the car?
Ed, I died and went to heaven. This is the greatest thing
Greatest
since
car
sliced
I've
bread.
yeah. You didn't you didn't get the top trim.
No, I got the middle one.
When you turn on your directional, do you have a camera that shows you instead of the
Yeah.
mirror? Yeah. So the car is amazing.
I
It
think
rides.
the only difference between the two levels I think it's like $6,000 or $8,000 more for the top end. And it's a better radio. I can't hear anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it had a heads-up display. I don't need to have it projected on. Other than
Yeah,
that, it's basically the same car.
right. Yeah, no, it's an amazing car.
The only
I
problem I've had, it's very interesting. You don't have it. I took your advice. I called our electric company. They don't have a program like you have. However, from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., it's 16 cents per kilowatt hour or whatever the hell it is. Normally during the day it's 49 cents.
Wow, that's a very high rate.
Tremendous. So in the car in the program, you can tell it
Right.
start charging at 9 and stop at 7. It
Yeah.
doesn't work on mine. So I called Genesis. They're going to take the car in next week and see what the problem is. Other than that, it is
Yeah.
fabulous.
Fabulous. I love the car.
I
I've had a number of, I got killed when I turned in the Audi. I hated
right.
the couple of days after I bought it, I hated the car.
I'm
And
sorry.
yeah. And it was not an inexpensive car, it was a plug-in hybrid.
Right.
But I had it for 14 months. So on a 3-year lease. So I had to buy my way out of the lease. But I mean, life is too short to have a car that you absolutely hate.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this car is absolutely amazing.
Have you learned all of the different things that it can do, or you're slowly adding them?
No, well, you got to remember, this is my fourth or fifth Genesis. I've had G80s.
I see.
And the funny thing is, when I had the Audi, a friend of mine bought a new G80, and he didn't know how to set the clock. And so I went in and looked at the menu, and there's no place to set the clock, except I finally figured out that all you do is tap onto the clock, and that sets the time.
Right.
So, yeah, no, the car is amazing, no question about it.
I am thrilled to death with it. Thank you for mentioning it. I didn't even know what it was. When you mentioned it, I've never seen one or didn't know what it was, but it is just fabulous. I'm just delighted with it.
And it's such a good looking car too.
Yeah, it's a pretty car. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah. What color did you get?
It's a Ceres blue, which is
I like
gray
that.
blue.
Yeah, they didn't have that available.
No, it just came in, and
Yeah.
it's the only one in Portland, they said. So I'll take that one.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a beautiful color. Mine is the Arctic white.
Aha. My wife has a white car. She said, I can't. Sometimes I don't know where it is. There's too many goddamn white cars. Anything but white.
In Florida, most of the cars are white.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, it's cooler. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to have a black car in Florida.
No. Well, anyway, it's just a fabulous car, and I'm still learning all the different things. But you've had many different models, so you used to most of the technology.
Right. Yeah. No, the car is absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, I had to take a ride up to the VA. Normally, I only charge to 80%.
Right.
But every so often, you have to charge to 100% to equalize the cells. And you do that on a day that you're going to drive further than you normally would drive. If you're never going to drive further, then take it on a highway and just take a ride.
How low do you get the battery ever?
You should run it down, but I don't. It's on a lease, so, and the battery has a 8-year warranty.
Right.
And they guarantee that it will stay at no lower than 70% of capacity, which is more than enough for me. So I plug it in every time. It turns itself off.
Right.
And it charges up to 80%. I go my 3 blocks to the
right.
Or like I had to go up to the VA because the diabetes nurse wanted to actually physically see me.
Yes.
So I had to. That's 50 miles round trip. Now I had the Ioniq 5, which is an electric car, and I sold it to a friend of mine, and he's planning on driving up to New York with it. So he's already plotted out where he's stopping, And the beauty of it is that it's one of the few cars that has the 800-volt charging.
Yes.
And so when you go to a place that has the high-speed charger, it charges from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. You don't even have
Right.
time to go in to have lunch.
Right. There's
Yeah,
one right around the corner from us, high voltage, which I don't know if we'll ever use it. I just plug it in when I come home.
right, exactly. Yeah, you'll never
Fabulous
use it.
car.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
yeah.
Well, I just ordered that little lavalier or whatever the hell it is. I'll get it tomorrow from Amazon. If it doesn't work, I can send it back. It was only $2.50.
A funny story about Amazon. I think I may have mentioned it. Years and years ago, I went into Home Depot and I was buying a 12-foot ladder, A-frame ladder, and they had one in stock. And they were supposed to deliver it on a Tuesday. Monday, they call me and say, Mr. Grummett, we're terribly sorry. The ladder, by mistake, we sold it. I said, well, you've got so many locations. Well, we have 10 of them in Lake Worth. I said, well, just deliver me one from Lake Worth. Well, that's a different district, so we'll have to charge you more. I said, are you kidding me? You blew it and you want me to pay more? I said, cancel the order, give me a refund. I went on Amazon for the first time, ordered the ladder. At that time, Amazon never charged sales tax. So not only didn't I pay a delivery charge, I didn't pay sales tax. So I got the ladder, and a 42-foot trailer pulls up and says, Mr. Grumman, where do you want the ladder? I
Wow.
was floored. I buy everything on Amazon.
I do too.
Yeah,
It just
it's
makes it
so
so
convenient.
Yeah. Well, I charging now. I've got to pick up my sister-in-law tomorrow at the airport, so I want to get a full charge, but it'll go there and back 4 times before I have to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've been I change cars like underwear practically. So I've gone through BMW, I've gone through almost every brand. And this is one of the nicest cars I've driven. Even even the G80, which is more expensive than the GV70, this car is just as nice on the inside as the G80.
Yeah, I can't want for anything else. I've had Mercedes, I've had Audis, I've had Chevys, I've had all kinds of cars, but this is a beautiful riding, beautiful. Do you ever put it in sport and or just the economy or
Okay, no, I keep it in comfort.
comfort
But
rather?
of course, you want to go on a straightaway and hit the
Yes,
Have you hit the
of
boost
course.
yet?
Yes.
God, my God, is that scary?
It is scary. I mean, you almost have to hold the wheel. It's so
Real,
powerful.
yeah. I mean, it just takes off like a jet.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you got to be real careful where you are and push that just for grins. As the salesman said to me, he asked me, "Do you have any grandchildren?" I said, "Why?" He said, "This is for them. They will be delighted when you push that button." Throws them back in the seat, but it's too much for me. I'll never use it.
yeah. No, you'll use it to get onto a highway.
Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
even just regular
Oh,
use,
yeah. No,
slam takes off
it's
like a rocket.
yeah, it's peppy. It's all hell. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's an amazing car.
Well, this is my last hurrah. My wife tells me so. I'm delighted with it.
How old are you, Bob?
I will be 82 in August.
Oh, I'll be in September 81. So we're about the
Okay.
same age.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope it's not my last hurrah.
Yes. I used to change cars every 2 years when I was in business years ago, but those days are gone now. So, the last car I had was a 2016. We used to pull a trailer with, so I just traded that in. They gave me a hell of a trade in on that. Jesus. Everybody was 13. Well, Honda was 13. Audi was 15. They gave me $19,000 for my car,
Yeah,
and then they took off 6 or 7 thousand off the MSRP.
yeah. No,
They
that's
really want to sell
amazing. Yeah,
cars.
yeah. Especially the electric cars.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the last batch that's in this country. After that, then the tariffs. and God knows what the prices
Well,
are
no,
going to.
the Genesis is made in this country.
No, I think this one was assembled in Mexico. I could be wrong. I have to take a look
Yeah,
at the paper.
okay. Yeah. Could be
So
Mexico, but
there may be some import taxes. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm done, but I'm happy as can be. And again, I can't thank you enough. I
I
never would
wanted
have.
to I wanted to buy the car, instead of leasing it. And the guy said,
Right.
don't do it. I said, why? He said, because I can give you basically around 16,000 off of the car if you lease it, and I can't give you a dime off of the car if you buy it. So he convinced me. I
Yeah.
leased it, a
Right.
3-year lease.
I talked to our accountant. I said, should I buy it or should I finance it or whatever? He said, well, with 6.2, but what you're getting on your other investments, he said, go ahead and finance it. He
Right.
said, I have two Priuses that are like 12, 15 years old. I had them way back when. He said, I said, how was it? How did you? He said, I wore out the tires very quickly because I was demonstrating it to everybody. So I
Right.
pushed the button and blew the tires out. Anyway, recently I had to replace the batteries in one of them. You know how much a replacement battery is?
A lot of money.
$12,000.
Yeah. It doesn't pay to replace it in the car.
No, it's got an 8-year warranty. I don't know if I'll be driving in 8 years, so
You'll be driving in 8 years.
I'll be 90. I don't know if I want to be on the road. Anyway, we'll see.
Well, look at Frankie and look at Neil.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. They're both out. Well, Neil doesn't drive anymore,
Yeah.
but Frankie does. So
I'm
we'll
still
see.
planning to keep on driving for a while at least.
Yeah.
I was just telling Bob earlier, I took my van up to a guy to work on some electrical problems. I've had a bunch of electrical problems that just showed up in a matter of months that I wanted to get around to working on myself and fixing, but I never could feel like I wanted to get out there and actually do it.
In the old days, you used to be able to work on the car. Today's
Yeah.
cars, you can't work on them.
No.
Yeah.
Same damn thing with the radio.
Yeah. When I got out of the Air Force, I bought a 396 350 horse Rally Green Camaro with air conditioning. And the dealer had never seen the car like that. Ultimately they developed a special tool to get the spark plugs out. But the first time they had to change my spark plugs, they pulled the engine out of the car.
Oh my God.
They couldn't get to the spark plugs. Yeah.
Wow.
That car was amazing, but when my wife was pregnant, I couldn't fit a baby carriage in the trunk, so I had to get rid of it. So the mechanic who worked on the car said to me, if you're ever going to sell this car, I want to buy it. And that's because I changed the oil every 1,000 miles.
Ah.
Car was like immaculate. The what?
Was there a special reason for changing that often?
No, back in the day, this is a 68 Camaro.
3,000 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah. And, changing oil was so cheap back then, and used a blended oil, not just straight synthetic. And so, you would drain the oil and it would come out clean. Yeah. Now most cars are 7,500 miles on an oil before you change the oil. Except now we don't change oil, Bob.
Right. We have no oil. It really is amazing.
Yeah, the tires are what's going to get us.
Yeah. Do you have what did you ever spend for tire? Oh, this is your first all electric, isn't it?
No, this is my third all electric.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no tires, but I don't keep cars long enough to go through the tires.
Okay.
I put maybe 6,000 miles on a year.
Oh my.
So the car, I never go through tires. When I did, well, these tires are going to be expensive because they're 265, 45 20s. And so they're expensive tires. And electric cars use a special tire.
Yeah. I would
So
expect it's probably $1,000, $1,200 for 4 tires.
it's about, yeah, it's going to cost $300 to $400 a tire.
Yeah. All right. It is what it is.
Right.
They have some kind of special rubber or
No,
manufacturing
you
rubber.
gotta, Frankie, the electric cars are just so heavy. Like the car we have is 5,000 pounds before you put anything
I
into
can
it.
understand the business of wearing them out faster that way, but why does the tire cost so much more?
Because they're very wide tires and they're a special blend of rubber to keep it so that the car is smooth.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't. That's one area on an electric car you can't chintz on. You got to put in the tires that they recommend, and the car comes with Michelin.
That's what I got.
Well,
Yeah.
and they're beautiful tires.
Yeah. I've always had Michelin tires. I think they're the greatest thing. If I bought a new car, I take it right over to the tire from the lot to the tire guy, change them, give me Michelin's.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, I when I was in the franchising business, I ran trucks, and
oh
I
yeah.
learned the hard way that you go with Michelin truck tires because if you overload a truck a little bit, they handle it no problem. You overload a Goodyear tire, and you're guaranteed to blow that tire out. At least back in the in the
Yeah.
80s. I
Right.
don't know what it is now.
Well,
Well, my driving, I guess, is a little more lightweight than all of that anyway.
yeah.
I generally expect to get, oh, at least 50, maybe 70, 80.
Yeah,
Out of a
we
set of tires?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in Georgia. Okay, you're not doing that in Florida. Florida, the asphalt has coral in it, and that to
mix
make
them
it
up.
so that otherwise, if it was like up north, the same type of asphalt mix, the roads would melt. It gets so hot down here.
Wow.
So yeah, I've never gotten anywhere near that on a set of tires. I think the most I've gotten is maybe 30,000 miles.
Really that low? Wow.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
tires I've got on my Dodge van at the moment are the ones that I bought the 3 weeks after I got the car. And that was 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
Well,
Well, how many miles do you put on a year?
I know it's less than 50 a month.
Okay. So you're not putting on any miles.
No.
No,
Yeah.
it's the mileage is insignificant almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's dinner time, guys.
Well,
Adios.
I wanted to ask Bob, or you possibly, Ed, if you're familiar with it. I've been trying to get somebody to tell me yes or no for sure, whether I can put on this new Dell computer that I got, which has Windows 11 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I, instead of using the Microsoft 365 as the operating system, can I
No,
just, instead of putting that on there, use this Chromebook instead?
no, no. You would. A Chromebook is a stripped down machine, so no, I wouldn't do that. Now, 365 isn't an operating system. That's like word processing and spreadsheet.
I know. That's the point. I have no use for all of that crap.
So then don't put it on.
Well, right now I'm using the leftover mix that was taken off my old machine and transferred into this thing, into the new one. and it's more or less a mix of Windows 7 and portions, at least, of Microsoft. But I'm using Chrome, the Google thing, as the main operating system. But I'm having problems getting this new printer running. I used to have my older son doing my work on that sort of stuff. I can handle radios, but I've never dealt with computers in any great amount.
Yeah,
But I've
I
been
think you
able
have to go in. I think you have to go into settings, Frankie, and you add a printer, and then it's going to ask you the name of the printer, or maybe it'll go out on the web, and then it'll bring the drivers in. Is the way I believe that it works. I've
yeah.
had my
Except he
hopefully
put
that's
on,
been done,
yeah.
but
He
I'm still not able to bring the thing up and use it.
he basically messed up the operating system of Windows 11 by
yeah
what he did.
No,
yeah.
it wasn't him that did it. It was Best Buy.
Well, ask them to come in, and if they can remotely connect to your computer, they can
And
set that up and do it.
yes,
It's 5 minutes.
straighten it.
It's real
Yeah,
fast.
straighten it out.
Well, I've been getting one word from him that says you can't do that, and from two other guys, local hams that are in the ham club, that say that it can be done, but certain things you have to disable. And they
Okay.
don't, neither one of them knew the details of that. And I've
Yeah.
seen a YouTube video that suggested using the Chromebook operating system on the machine.
You're like weakening that machine down to a Chromebook, which
Well,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all I need.
Well, then you shouldn't have bought the Microsoft computer. You should have bought just a Chromebook machine, which would have been a fraction of the price of what you paid for the Windows 11 machine.
Well, looking back on it, I guess I made quite a mistake in that.
Well,
But
ask some of the ham guys. Ask some of the ham guys that'll come over. It'll be 5 minutes.
Yeah,
They'll fix it right up
they'll
for you.
fix it right up. Yeah.
well, I'm a little frustrated with it all, but what the heck?
You don't have to be, Frankie. Ask the fellas. They'd be more than happy to help you. It just takes 5 minutes, and it's not a big deal. But you have to know what you're doing. I don't, and it's aggravating. But you need help. Once it's done, it's done.
Well, when my older son was here years ago, he did a lot of work on the thing with no problems. But he kept making screw ups in one form or another. And that's how I got this conglomeration of what's on there now. That's left over from his work.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I either call the Geek Boys back and have them clean it up for you, and ask them to do it, or ask one of your ham friends, or get a 12-year-old in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta run, guys. I'll see you next
See
week.
ya.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye
one.
bye.
Well. All right, Frankie, I'm going to pull the plug. You have a good week. Call one of the guys. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you.
I'll try and do that.
Okay.
See you next week.
Yes, sir.